Hi everyone, Nathan Taddeo here from Credo Financial. I'm here today with Joe Virgona from Your Money Manager. And Joe and I are going to talk about, in this series, we're going to do a few videos, so please watch them all. But we're going to talk about just some money hints from a planning thing from just general life planning. So Joe, I think one of the big things you do with a lot of our clients is talk about just budgeting and getting a hold of their expenses. It's one thing to have your finance as far as your lending sorted, but actually how you're going to live with that day to day, right?
That's right, Nathan. Yeah, thanks for having me on. So the money management is a part of the advice that we found became more and more important over time.
Yeah.
So a lot of people we find would struggle to save for a first deposit, or they might struggle to get that deposit down to then have equity to buy their second or third property, whatever their goal is.
Yeah.
So when we started to ask people how they're managing their money, like where's it actually going, we found a lot of common problems. Right. So often we find the more people earn, the more they spend. And so people have gone from earning, a certain level, they've doubled or tripled their income as their career builds, and they've still got no savings.
Sure.
So we have a series of steps we go through when people come to us and say they've got no idea where their money's going or they need just help, and that really helps to then move forward and have more of a complex financial plan down the track.
Yeah, and it's quite easy to understand why that happens, right? You get a pay rise and your first thought is, oh cool, I can maybe relieve the pressure on these other things, when really what we want people to do is get into those habits early days and then retain those habits, so the extra money goes towards a goal, whether that be saving or paying something down or buying something else, whatever it might be. So what do you sort of do to help people manage that? Is it just sitting down and going through a budget and planning with them? Is it a one-off thing? How's the best way for people to sort of...
The first step we find, Nathan, is we'll get them to complete a budget. So look at the money coming in and the money going out, and that can scare a lot of people when it looks on paper as if there's no savings, or sometimes it looks like there is savings and then we look at the bank account and there's nothing there.
Yeah.
So the first step is really get an idea of a snapshot of the budget. Then from there, we'll actually draw out in front of them the flow of money.
Gotcha.
So where their pay is going into what bank accounts, then how are they actually paying their rent or their mortgage, their credit cards, how are they buying their groceries.
Sure.
So often we end up almost like this spider web of accounts and lines and flows of money, and people will burst out laughing in front of us thinking, okay, we've really overcomplicated this.
Yeah.
So then we usually just wipe it and go, let's get really basic. Let's have a couple of accounts depending on what frequency of bills.
Sure.
And then let's look at the goal. If it's a savings goal, we try to separate the savings from the spending. And then we've got a system or process where we actually give them short-term goals to work towards, and then we give feedback around how they're tracking, where they can tighten up, and gives them a lot of confidence to see that their savings are building over time.
Yeah.
But we find that if the money's easily accessible, a lot of the time people will use that if they have a short-term expense they haven't planned.
Sure.
So we've got a few ways that we actually make it a little bit harder to people to actually take that money.
Yeah, so the general idea is always typically the same, but it's about sitting down and understanding what's going to work for that person. Because I know we always typically, especially if a person's got a fair bit of savings, like to have maybe an offset account against the home where that sits, but maybe have a separate account for the day-to-day. But depending on the person, you might have a few accounts here where your savings are, and your daily spending account might be completely different, or just different lender, just to create that barrier so that it's not as easy to just sort of dip in because that t-shirt looks nice, for example, right?
Exactly right, yeah, that's right. So the planning's a big part of it, and it's really the goal, saying, okay, what do they want to do? They want to save for their first home, they want to pay off enough debt to then have equity to buy again. Do they want to put more money into their super?
Sure.
Or do they just want to actually know where their money's going? Because a lot of time people think they're earning good money, and they are on paper, but they just don't have the right behaviours to then move forward. So that's an important part of what you do. Yeah.
Okay. So guys, this is really important, and it's why I wanted to talk about it with Joe, because we will always, when we're putting someone's loan together, look at your living expenses, but what we say at one thing and getting real about it is completely two different things. So thanks, Joe. That was really, really cool. And obviously reach out to either of us if you want to talk about your budgeting, whether that's to buy your first place, or just like Joe said, if you're one of those people that you're earning some money, but where's it all going? Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Cheers.